Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Reacts. And today we are talking about a Glasgow museum, so not the British Museum this time, that reveals it's missing a $3.7 million Rodin sculpture, and that
Yeah.
it's been gone for the past 75 years or so, is the last known recorded instance of them having it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the uh yeah, so it is the plaster cast copy of Auguste Rodin's Le Bourgeois de Calais, and I get to say it because I can be more pretentious than Justin when I speak
Calais. Les Bourgeois de
Calais.
Calais
Calais.
by Auguste Rodin.
Yeah. Choose who you had your favorite fake French accent in the comments below. Dear God, we're terrible. Um,
Nice.
anyway, this statue was commissioned in 1884, and as per French law, Rodin was able to make as many bronze castings of it as he liked, which he then sold or distributed to other museums around the world. Um, the one in Glasgow was last seen on September 30th, 1949, when it was exhibited. Uh, I forget where exactly. I know they mention in here, but it was on exhibit, and it was reported as suffering damage while on exhibit. And immediately after that, all records of the statue cease.
Yes.
It
It
gets
was
put.
a part of an exhibition of sculpture in the open air.
Ah, yes, there it is. Yeah, yeah,
So
and
it was
that.
placed outside in an exposition, and then it was
Oh, yeah. Kelvin
noted
Grove Park. There it is. That's where it was on display.
it was noted that the statue suffered damage while on display, and it doesn't note what the damage was either.
Yeah, yeah, just unspecified damage, and then the statue becomes listed as uh, unlocated. Uh, And the big reason why this is coming up now is the Glasgow Museums, which is a collection uh, of five institutions: the Riverside Museum, the Burrell Collection, Goma, the People's Palace, and Kelvin Grove Park, have been doing an inventory in recent years, attempting to locate all unlocated works on the grounds that most of the works that are listed as unlocated were supposed to be sent to one institution but ended up in another.
And this unfortunately does happen quite frequently and is kind of an artifact of an era gone by. A lot of museums and institutions have started to digitize and start accessioning their collections in better, more practical ways. A lot of times in the past, these collections were very poorly documented, very poorly labeled, or oftentimes just got mixed up in the shuffle between institutions or between storage and expositions and end up lost or tucked away in a corner for years and just completely forgotten about and ignored. And this is a lot of times how items tend to go missing or unlocated, which is why they use that terminology specifically, unlocated, because it is very likely that a lot of these items are still within the institution's grasps, but they were either a part of orphan collections or a part of expositions that were taken down, or in the case of this one, that was damaged. Maybe it was sent off to be repaired and it just never came back, or other things happened. I mean, the the possibilities are endless, but they do add the items to a stolen and missing list, which in case it comes up for sale or comes up across any legitimate source like an art dealer or like I said, an auction, it'll flag for having been a part of these collections or museums.
Yeah. And the Glasgow Museums, the five institutes across all of them, currently have listed 1,750 artifacts that are unlocated and are presumed missing or stolen. uh, which it's a fairly large number, but this is five separate
What was
institutions
the
and
number you said?
1,750.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
a doozy.
that's a very large number. The main hope is that with the digitization, the majority of these will be found as uh, simply having been listed as going to one museum and sitting in the basement of another.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that is a big number. However big the number is, it the article itself does take a moment to point out that more than 2,000 objects are missing from the British Museum, all thanks to one person.
And this is basically causing a wave among institutions, both in Britain but across the world, because this is honestly a really big issue, unfortunately. But they're all doing collections. What would be the proper words? Like inventories. They're inventorying their entire collection. They're recataloging everything. They're reassessing if they need to. So that way they get a true idea and grasp on what's in their collection and what's still around. And to be fair to these museum curators and to these museum workers, if you've never been in a museum's collection room, it is large movable shelving that is just floor to ceiling full of objects of every sort of make and model, and they're all organized, but a lot of times they're in rollaway shelves that you wouldn't go in unless you're trying to build a specific exhibition and display. And like, you don't go through the collections all that frequently. You don't double check. So when you get bad actors who are skimming items or taking items and fencing them, it tends to be a problem because that stuff isn't, there's no system in place to catch that early on. And it's unfortunately kind of unrealistic to expect every institution to do an inventory of all of their collections every single year, because some institutions like the Field Museum in Chicago have over 500,000 pieces in their collection.
And additionally, a lot of these pieces are not visible. What you have is rows upon rows of crates or boxes filled with artifacts that have been carefully stored. So you don't see it's not like everything is on a little shelf, because we could put everything on a little shelf. We just display the collection room.
Well, some of them are on shelving units, but it's more like a toolbox shelving where you pull
Yeah.
it out and it slides out, usually a pretty good
Yeah.
distance,
Yeah.
but it
And that's
is
the thing.
tucked
Like,
away and it's usually in closed
yeah.
drawers.
And I'm saying, like, if we could display everything so that everything was visible, we would
God.
just display the collection room and call the collection room the museum.
Yeah, that would be the dream. I mean, the sad reality is most museums you're seeing less than like 1/100th of a percent of their collections, unless they're a small museum. But if it's a large institution, you're seeing a fraction of what they have. A lot of times to the point where a lot of museums don't have an acquisition policy anymore. They just tend to only save that for big items. But I hope that this cast of the statue comes out and we're able to see where it ends up. This would be one that I would love to do a follow up video on just to see what the future lay here. But
Yeah.
golly, if it's been gone for 70 years and it isn't popping up,
Yeah. This is not a small statue either. This is six full-sized individuals cast as a single piece.
this is in some billionaire's garden, I'm telling
Maybe, we don't know.
you. But I think that's a good point for us to wrap up on this episode. I mean, it's kind of interesting to see what's coming out from this windfall. So we like to keep up to date. We like to share stories that come out, better for good or for worse, unfortunately. But
So we'll see you next time, right?
yep, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.